This is Wycombe Sound. It's your Tuesday mid-morning. Hope your day is going well. Luke's back with Drive Time this afternoon from 4. Another chance for you to catch this week's single of the week after 5. But first, you might have heard in the local news recently, if you're of South Asian heritage or know anyone who is, then you can make a healthy start to your 2024 by taking part in a new county research study. You're being invited to join the South Asia Biobank at Wycombe Hospital. It's just a 90-minute series of tests which include blood pressure and electrocardiogram, heart tests as well. And the study is being co-led by Dr. Piers Clifford, who can tell us more.
A colleague of mine, Professor Jaspal Kuna, who works at Imperial Hospitals NHS Trust, is a very active researcher, and he comes from the Punjab originally, or is of Punjabi extraction. So he developed the concept to help the Punjabi population in the UK of developing free health screening. It's mainly funded by the Wellcome Foundation. So patients are invited of Indian origin or South Asian origin are invited to come up to the hospital or a community setting, in his case, in Ealing, where they're given a fairly comprehensive health assessment, which will be similar to the Bupa health checks. They have a questionnaire that they fill in about other health conditions, whether they smoke or not, how much alcohol they drink, their fruit and vegetable consumption, their physical activity. And then we measure their blood pressure, check their blood tests for diabetes and cholesterol, weigh them, do their waist circumference and calculate their body fat. And they also get an ECG and eye screening for looking for high blood pressure effects on the eye and diabetic effects on the eye. And then they and their GP are provided with a comprehensive report with advice on how to manage their lifestyle and any of their concomitant conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. So we're hoping also to extend this out in terms of reducing inequalities to the Afro-Caribbean population as well, particularly in Buckinghamshire. But we're just getting ethical approval for that at the moment.
Are there any sort of particular types of people that you're after in terms of sort of age or gender, or is it literally just a wide range?
It's virtually anybody, to be honest. They can be 25 to 85 of Pakistani, Indian or Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan heritage in this first way, where for the South Asian population. But as I say, we're going to try and extend that to the local Afro-Caribbean black population as well.
And are there any sort of common things that you're expecting to find as a result of these sessions?
Yeah, so about a couple of months ago, we'd already recruited 2,400 participants from the Buckinghamshire area, from 60 different GP surgeries. We're aiming to get up to 10,000 eventually, and we've got 5 staff members on that. And we've nationally, over 34,000 patients have been recruited, and during the course of that, nearly 6,000 patients have had newly diagnosed high blood pressure, which they weren't aware of. Nearly 13,000 of those patients have been found to have new high cholesterol, which was untreated, and 7,000 patients were found to be diabetic. So it's finding quite a lot of cardiovascular risk factors, which we can then treat before the patient becomes ill.
It sounds a really excellent opportunity for people to find out, as you say, things that they might not have been aware of before and really get something done about it.
Correct.
And what would you say to anyone who's thinking about getting involved?
Well, it's a straightforward procedure. At the moment, we're performing it out of a facility in Wycombe Hospital, but the parking is relatively easy nowadays on site. And once they get to us, it's really, they're with us for 30 to 45 minutes where they get a comprehensive health check. And I can't see any reason why you wouldn't want to do it, really, if you can get a free comprehensive health check. In terms of the research aspect, the main thing is to get the demographics or get the epidemiology of cardiac risk factors and cardiac conditions in the Asian population. And there is a genetic sub-study attached to it, but the patients don't have to get involved in the genetic sub-study if they don't want to.
Because I guess some people might be a bit concerned about, going for health checks because they might be concerned about what it might sort of throw up. But I guess obviously, if there are issues, then to get them seen, the sooner the better, really.
Well, it's better than ignoring them, that's for sure. Obviously, the aim of discovering undiagnosed cardiovascular risk factors like diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol is to act promptly so that they don't suffer from a heart attack or a stroke, and that's the reason why we want to do the screening, really.
And is there anything in particular that you're hoping to get from this study?
Well, the main research for it, which is why the Wellcome Trust fund it, is to see if there are any genetic markers for diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and the risk of having premature heart attacks and strokes. So that it may be that we could develop a blood test that you could take when you're 18 that will help you predict whether you're going to have a problem, and then we can put those people under greater surveillance.
So how can anyone who's interested get involved?
There's a website which they can log on to, and they can book their appointment directly on the website.
And just finally, what's the main message you'd like to get across about the study?
The main message is that cardiovascular disease is one of the biggest killers in the UK, and that patients of South Asian extraction are probably even at higher risk than the normal indigenous British population, and that they should really take up this opportunity to try and protect themselves from cardiovascular disease in the future.
That's Dr. Piers Clifford, who is the co-lead of the study. Alka Pandey, who is someone who has already taken part.
I am from a South Asian background, and my day job is I'm a specialist dietitian. I work in ICU and I work people with diabetes, mainly type 1, but type 2 also. When COVID hit, we know that, there was a disparity, and initially a lot of people from the Black and Asian minority had very serious outcomes, and I wasn't able to figure out what was happening. And then our research came out, and I did have an inkling about it because I was looking at their comorbidities. And it turns out that people from the minority ethnicities, because they have this background of diabetes and hypertension, are more susceptible to a lot of other kind of diseases and disorders. So we kind of knew that, but it was like put into the face at that time. And that kind of prompted me to take care and spread the message. So that's why when this study came out, and it was, I think, on the background of that initial study, and it was a welcome change. And it's a more proactive and proactive approach to rather being reactive, which is more beneficial. So that's why I was ready to jump into the study.
Do you think because of your line of work that made you more want to find out perhaps more for yourself, but also, as you say, to find out for people who are in those sort of situations as well?
Yes, because of my work, it was more highlighted to me. It was more flagged up and highlighted that this was happening. I also happened to be, at that point, a chair of the BAME network at my trust, in one of at the Bucks Healthcare Trust. So that's how I was more kind of thinking about the well-being, thinking about what I can do to kind of prevent all these. It was a very uncertain time. So anything that we could do to help people around at the trust, at your local area, in your inbox, and that would be helpful, isn't it? So that's how I was more kind of prompted to do the study myself, and more interested in spreading it to all the people.
I think it really helps in a way as well, because if people know that, someone who works in health as you do does it, then, they realise that, perhaps it's something that they should do as well.
Absolutely. And when the take-up has been immense from my family and friends. Whenever I've posted it about that, there's always been at least 10, 20 people who've gone and done their tests. And, it's good kind of awakening and awareness in the sense. So it's nice for them to know what people with COVID got more and more health conscious. So it was a good kind of study to help them understand what can go wrong or how can they prevent it.
It's really pleasing, isn't it? Because I think some people see or hear, health check, and they think, I don't really want to go along to that. It might throw up something which I don't know about, or I don't want to know about, or there might be something I don't understand.
You're right, and that's an anxiety that many people might have. Having someone say, that's why I did it myself first, to understand what the study was about and how it would go. And if people had questions, I was able to answer them. But as the study kind of states, it's very clear in their communication that what they are going to do, what exactly are the steps, how much time is needed, what is expected from you, and what will be the results and outcomes, and you will get a report at the end of it. So it is quite nice in that way. And, people, when they hear from word of mouth, they know that it is not as bad. And somehow I think it's a change of perspective. People now want to go for health checks so that they can know what is coming and they can take steps to prevent that.
So have you had any sort of common questions or concerns from friends or family who might be thinking about taking part in the study?
I mean, the common questions are how much time it will take, what do I have to do, and is there like a commitment or, like ongoing commitment that I need to do kind of thing? Or is there, sometimes study involves like taking some medications or, trialing some food or trialing some kind of methodology or, changing your lifestyle pattern. This study does not involve any of that. There's no medicines involved. There's no change of methodology or no change to your usual routine. You just go in there one day, you get your bloods and parameters checked. I mean, they build a report based on that. And there is a questionnaire to fill in before that, which kind of asks a lot of questions so that you don't spend time on the day.
And it sounds a really positive experience as well, because obviously you get to find out about your own health, but also, know that you're helping people in the future as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, it's always good to know, a diagnosis that comes to you suddenly is more difficult to take in than a risk factor that this might happen in another 5 or 10 years. That's more, you can deal with it at this point of time. It's more difficult to deal with a diagnosis that comes on you suddenly. That's like just throws you away.
Of course, and a great opportunity for anyone to make any changes, perhaps to their lifestyle or diet as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, these are the three basics there that is highlighted. So, change in diet, change in medications, not change in medications, but that is something that people can go back to their GP and have a discussion maybe, or go back to the health professional or, healthcare team. But change in diet, change in exercise. Some people that may think that we are young and we don't need to exercise. There can be some people, or there are some people that think, oh, we live under this false notion, that I do take care of my diet and that I do take care of my exercise, but probably we are not doing enough. So this kind of prompts and nudges them to do that to go that extra mile.
And I think as well, people think, I don't need to worry about this till, later in life. But it's something that,
absolutely,
it makes sense to sort of check as soon as possible, really.
Absolutely. Because, nowadays we are seeing rise of diabetes in the general UK population also. We have younger children getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and elderly population who are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which was never we have seen before. So this is something that can highlight your risk, and no one is invincible, but we can always take some measures to mitigate that risk.
So just finally, what's the main message you'd like to get across about the study?
I would say just go for it. There's nothing to lose. You will only gain your highlights, and if everything is well enough, that's a reassurance too. That's good enough. You're doing everything that you can and just continue with it. If you have some risk factors, you can work on it. There's nothing to lose. And the study is really easy. There's no pricking and prodding and lots of measurements or lots of, things that you need to do. It's more for the team to do. And, the results are so kind of simple, in a language easy to understand. And you will thank yourself for going for it.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
That's Alka Pandey, who's a participant in the South Asia Biobank study. Before that, you heard from Dr. Piers Clifford, who is the co-lead, speaking to us here
online,
at
on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.